going to stay home and raise her and let my husband do all of the working. And that lasted about 1.5 years before my neighbors knocked on my door and said, Saratoga Springs, there's some trouble in Saratoga Springs, you need to run for city council, go fix it, Mia. And I remember that voice in the back of my head saying, you will not be a burden to society, you will give back. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go and fix some of these problems. Well, a little bit about Saratoga Springs, and I know the Utah Taxpayers Association would know a lot of the history, but I wanted to let you know. Saratoga Springs was incorporated in '97. At the time when Saratoga Springs was incorporated, we had about 1,000 people, 2 state roads, no public safety, no infrastructure, I mean nothing. We were being assessed the lowest ag tax possible by the county. So when Saratoga Springs incorporated, they never set a municipal tax. They were doing all of their business through building permits. And then I get into the city council and I say, what's going to happen when the housing market drops? Anybody want to tell me what I was told? Of course, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Well, we know that's exactly what happened. The housing market crashed, and we found ourselves with a $3.5 million shortfall. Now, that may not seem like very much when it comes to Washington, but I'm telling you, a city that's growing over 1,700%, that grew over 1,700% in less than 10 years, that's a big deal. So, we had to do what normal people in their normal homes would do. We rolled up our sleeves, and we had to cut spending. It was very difficult. We didn't have the option of kicking the can down the road and fixing it next year or fixing it the year after. We had to roll up our sleeves. We cut 67% at the top area, 30% at the lower areas. We made sure that when we set a municipal tax for the first time, that it paid for public safety. And everything else had to be sustainable. Now, I'll give you an example. After that, by the way, that was in 2008. We set some financial policies in place. I was elected 60% of the votes in Saratoga Springs. And Saratoga Springs now holds the highest bond rating available to it. While Washington was getting a downgrade, we were getting an upgrade. We're growing economically, and we're doing well. We're financially stable. As a matter of fact, Saratoga Springs just received a Distinguished Budget Award. And we were one of 19 cities that received it out of 243 because we're doing so well. 2 years ago, residents came to me. I'll give you an example of where I put some of these principles to practice. 2 years ago, residents came to me and said, Mayor, we need a library. Go get us a library. Eagle Mountain has a library. Lehigh has a library. Everybody around us has a library. Go get a library. And I said, well, libraries are all expenditure, no revenue. It takes a lot of money, and we just weren't ready to do that. So what I said was, go and get a library. Here's some surplus money, $10,000. Go get a library. And everybody pretty much laughed. They said, that's impossible. You can't pay for books, pay for building, pay for personnel, I mean, software. You can't do it. No one's been ever able to do that. And I said, if it's truly an essential service, then you can do it. So the residents took that challenge and they went out and they collected books. They weren't picky. What they didn't use, they repaired and resold. Parts of the community came together and started donating. Parts of proceeds on different nights went to the library. You see, people started gathering together in different places to support the library. We weren't just building a library, we were building a community. Today, we have a full-blown library, and it's not on the backs of the taxpayers. We've done it on our own, and we're one of the only cities that's been able to do that. Now, the reason why I bring this story up is because I ask myself several questions before I make a decision. Before any new commitment as a mayor, I ask myself, is it affordable? Is it sustainable? Is it my job? Now, if all of our representatives in Washington were asking that same question, I believe we would be in a completely different place today. I believe we would be financially stable. We would have a country that promotes the American dream, energy independence, upward movement in the economy, and we'd have a brighter future for our children. But that's not what's going on. You see, over 50% of our fellow Americans believe it's okay to take from one and give to another. And they believe it's their representative's job to do that for them. They believe that it's government's job to do that for them. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. That 50% is being told by the administration and the Democratic Party that you are the problem. The people that produce, the people that create jobs, the people that have been able to sustain my city and cities all along the 4th District and in Utah. Pick one income group up against another in class warfare. And that's not what we believe here in Utah. Those are not our values. Now, a little bit about the campaign. I'm gonna have some fun here. Some would like to think of this campaign and say that it's going to be decided on referendum, on personal demeanor, and whether someone is reasonable. I mean, I've already been described as being no different than the other 6 candidates that my opponent's been up against. We'll have to see about that. This campaign is going to be about contrast. That's what it's going to be about. It's not going to be about personalities. It's going to be about views that we have, different views about where our country should be going and the visions of America's future. Not about personality types. Let me give you several reasons why it has to happen. $16 trillion in debt with no way out, no end in sight right now. $1 trillion deficits and climbing. A potential fiscal Armageddon coming late this year, and an administration that pretty much has vowed that they are going to raise taxes. We have a partial government takeover of healthcare, where most of the cost is going to be shoveled off to the states. The fact that every person who found a job last year, last month, every person who found a job, 3 people decided to give up looking. Think about this. 23 million Americans, unemployed, underemployed, or just gave up looking for work. An almost childlike fantasy that windmills and solar panels is going to power America's future while ignoring the resources that we have right here under our feet. An administration that also believes that congressional review and approval just gets in the way, and that we can regulate our way to hope and change. There's more at stake here than whether Congress can get along. There's more at stake. And elections are indeed about contrast, and they have to be about contrast. This country is polarized along party lines because the 2 parties have never been so different. And what the Republican Party is trying to send a message out saying that if we don't change, do something right now to get a hold of our out-of-control spending, it'll be too late. Look at what's happening in Europe right now. We are not immune from those problems. So, some of us will call attention to the potential disasters that we face, that want to face them right now and deal with them right now than waiting for them to blow up in our faces. Sometimes we're labeled as radical or unreasonable. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and you tell me if I'm wrong. Do you believe that this is unreasonable? The concern that we don't want federal government to educate our children, control our lands, regulate each business, and provide our health care by force? Is it unreasonable to think that these are the issues that are important to us? Is it?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. My opponent, Mr. Matheson, has already stated that I'll go back and walk the party lines. It's okay, we're gonna have fun. But I'll go back and walk the party lines, that I will not put Utah first, but I'll put party first. And with all due respect, he doesn't know me very well. That is not who I am as a person, and it's simply incorrect. I have said many times, and I know you all have heard me, that I don't allow anyone to put me in a box of any kind. I've shared a number of times the 3 questions that I ask myself. Remember, is it affordable? Is it sustainable? Is it my job? I can assure this audience today that I will apply those same criteria to any measure brought before me in Congress. Should I be so fortunate to serve you? I will ask, is it affordable? Is it sustainable? Is it my job? In other words, consider the proper role of a limited federal government. And I can tell you, if it doesn't fit that criteria, no matter who the Republican person is or the Republican representative is, they will not get my vote. These are the things that will form the debate as we move forward. Now, there are many people that are out there, my opponent, that will talk about at length that will speak at length, entire campaign emails sent out without one sentence about their affiliation. But at the end of the day, Blue Dog is an incomplete term. The complete term is Blue Dog Democrat. That's the complete term. And the people of Utah, we all understand what that actually means. Because if you put enough blue dogs in Congress, what will you have? You will have a Democratic majority. And I doubt that the 4th District, under these circumstances, would be okay with that. Now, okay. I believe that we have an opportunity to do something very special here in the state of Utah. And I believe that people will come out in numbers to support a President Romney. That's what I believe. And we all know who that person will need in the majority in order to change this country around. Now, I came to Utah and I stayed here, and I chose to stay here because I found people who believe as I do in a limited government, fiscal discipline, personal responsibility. I found people who embrace the idea that you are entitled to what you own, earn, work for, and pay for yourself. That is what I believe will define this election. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and I need your support.